What's happening? This is 9/11, and you are tuned in to AVG Podcast. And I have half of the best chiropractors in
Oh,
DFW. I got Dr. Toya dropping in with me with a sports hat on today. How you doing today, Dr. Toya?
hello, hello. It's good
you,
to be back. You've been trying to get us back on here for like a good year and a half, at
I
least.
know, I know.
At least.
But that means y'all just been booked and busy, so that's good. That's
Yes.
good.
Good problems.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem you
Good
have
problems
time
to
for.
have.
We coming on tonight. We gonna talk about a little bit of women's college basketball because it's been heating up with women college basketball and it's like
Yeah.
dominating the airways right now, and it's been an
Mhm.
interesting season. So before we even get to the tournament, tell me a little bit about your basketball. Didn't you have play a little basketball? Tell me a little bit about your
We
basketball.
did. We did play basketball. Nothing like crazy. We didn't play in college or anything. We just kind of stuck to the books after that. But definitely tried to keep up. Definitely used to go to all these, like when we were in Texas, used to go to all the games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that's always been like near and dear to our hearts. So we do try to keep up. And even now, like, we work with high school basketball teams, more so girls than boys. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's been cool to kind of like just be in the thick of it with them and
I
like
mean,
watch them grow.
it is crazy right now. Like, what do you attribute though? Because it seemed like now it hadn't been like that in the past, but it seemed like women's, especially college basketball, sports. I mean the pros. I still think the WNBA could use a little more exposure and a little more. But for
Yeah.
some reason, the college game has gotten hot. What do you attribute that to versus like the men's side?
That's a great question. I feel like you've had like some really great players come through
Mm-hmm.
over like I mean we've been having great players go through, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I think specifically over within the last like 5 or 6 years, you've had some talent that's come through that's just like, okay, they're captivating to watch no matter what audience. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
probably has a lot to do with it. Also the way that they, rebranded certain things, I think has definitely helped increase like viewership and like sponsorship of and coverage of them. So
I'm gonna tell you what I think. Now, this is my theory.
yeah.
For the women's side of the ball, it's really not. You can go to the league after 1 year, but for the women's side of the ball, it's like back in the day, you kind of got to know college players a little bit more. They stayed a couple
Yeah.
years, so you kind
Mm-hmm.
of had a story. It's like each team throughout the women's game, you had a storyline because you got to know those
Right.
young ladies for a couple years. Hey, they won this
Yeah.
championship team. They transferred from this school. They played against this team for the
Mm-hmm.
championship. So I feel like it's more storylines, and I don't want to call them characters, but they're interesting young ladies, or they got like it's a lot of big personalities. I'll say that.
Yes.
And to
Definitely a
me,
lot of big personalities.
the guys don't stay around long enough for you to even learn a personality anymore. It's like if they are good enough, they go into the league, so you don't hang around. So that's my
That's
theory on it.
very true. That's very true because sometimes these stories take a little while to develop. I mean, even look at like Paige Beckers, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's been there, missed 57 games, right? But then still ends up back in the Final Four. So like that, I think you have time to like, as a journalist, you
Yeah.
have time to really develop some good content if you do want
Mm-hmm.
to put that out there and make that storyline and like, kind of have like this whole like Cinderella thing, like, oh, she started off really good, like was one like number one, like was she like number one coming out of
Yeah, she
like
was
ranked
like,
number one
yeah,
coming
she
out of
was
high
like
school?
what they were talking about
One,
with Caitlyn. Yeah.
yeah. I hate that she missed so many games because it would have been crazy to see how. I mean, but also she's on a different team. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think that even with Paige's talent, I don't know. Like, she's crazy talented, so I'm not saying anything to her, but I don't know that she would have done the same thing that Caitlin did with Iowa because
Mm.
you have to have a specific setup in order for things to go how they went. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
the team dynamic is a little bit different.
Now tell me this. Now going into the season, South
Yeah.
Carolina had lost. Everybody had lost their whole starting
Mm-hmm.
five. LSU defending. Who did you pick have coming out like early on in the season? Who were you already looking at?
Early on, okay. To be honest with you, I didn't know how it was going to shape up because early on I was like, man, like Caitlin Clark is like obviously still doing her thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she's one of the greatest women's basketball players that we'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, looking at LSU, seeing the things that was kind of going on with their team dynamic, I know like Angel missed a couple games, and just like how media, trying to now like
Mm-hmm.
nobody really knew who you were. Now everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And they kind of making you a villain. So like kind of like weighing in on that mental health aspect, like, okay, how are they going to perform? Like, how are they going to kind of get over this obstacle? That is a little bit larger than it was maybe last year, because now you are defending champs and people still are villainizing y'all for like whatever, like whatever reason they have, right?
Yeah, whatever the reason is.
I'm not gonna go too far off into that, but like, and then South Carolina, like, okay, yes, we have lost everybody, and I didn't know. I really didn't know. It was like a toss up for me. It wasn't until probably about like midway I was like, yeah, South Carolina gonna take this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know they said the revenge tour, but we was like, we really gonna see it. Then like, I was like, okay, South Carolina got it.
And that's how you close
it.
I'll
put my money on them.
But look, I'm gonna tell you this. I had already said, if LSU gets knocked out, I'm pulling for Dunn. Can you just speak to like just what her leadership and what it is looking at her to go undefeated this far in the only losing 3 games, and like I forget what is a crazy number, like 173 games. I don't know, whatever the number is crazy. Can you just speak a little bit about Dunn, about what she's doing over there in South Carolina?
So in my head, because I teach school, right? So in my head, I'm like, Dawn is my bestie. Anytime my students would ask me, they're like, hey, like, who do you have? I was like, I'm rolling with Dawn. Like, Dawn. Dawn is my friend.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even though I've never met Dawn, she's my friend.
Yeah.
And so she just has this little swag about her. I don't know. You can just tell that she really cares about her players, and it's not even like what they do on the court. She cares about them as people, and I'm sure most coaches do, but hers just it's just like she exudes it. And I think a lot of that is a tribute to like how she was talking, yesterday after the game, like the God that she serves, right? Like it's just like you can just tell like how great of a person she is, and how she really just wants to uplift the sport, uplift her girls, and like really see them win, and like make them be dedicated to it, and making them like whole complete players too. Because she's like, you're not gonna come here and you're not gonna like, you're not gonna be averaging like 30, 40 points a game, because that's not the style of basketball that we play. And if you're gonna play offense, you also gonna play defense. And so like her defensive mind, I think, is what really like kind of sets her apart. Because nobody wants to play defense for real. Like in my opinion, nobody really wants to play defense.
No, that's facts. That's men's game and women's game.
Yeah. And I know that even like if you look at the NBA and like how their rules have changed over the past 10-ish years or so, like it's more European style, and like it for a faster play, nobody's really playing defense. And I know sometimes they attribute, it's less injuries and stuff like that. I don't really know. I haven't really looked at the stats on that, but I think it'll be interesting to research.
That would.
For sure.
And I'm gonna tell you something else. Like a lot of that you touched on with Dunn. Is the way I see the way I feel about it is that it feels authentic too. It doesn't feel forced. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, that swag, everything about her when she speaks, reference of religion, it seems authentic. Nothing seems like I'm trying to do this for the crowd, for the camera. Everything, she just seems like a real authentic person. So I salute Dunn for her leadership. I love that about her.
So when I think about her, one of our best friends, he always says, I can only be myself. And I feel like she shows up authentically as herself in every single room that she walks into. She's not going to try to fit some narrative that you have for her. She is going to be her, and like either you accept that or you don't.
Yeah. Now you seen that a lot of these players are declaring for the draft now.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a very interesting class. So you got Catlin, you got Angel. She say she going. I think Cardosa came out and said she was going, right?
Yeah.
So out of all the young ladies that you've seen in the tournament, who game do you think makes an instant impact and translate faster? Because all of them are different in their own right.
They are.
So it's gonna be crazy.
That's a tough question. Because what's the other girl? Cameron Briggs. She's going too. She's going.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. That's a really hard question. Okay, for me, I love the way Camila Cardoso plays. Like, I really love her.
She got that true big man game, like that old school, like I'm putting it on I told my wife the other day, I say she does not miss no shots on the backboard. Like none. Fundamentally sound. She turns around over the shoulder off the backboard. But
I think depending on which team she goes, she could really make a big impact, like almost immediately, because the way she plays, she's going to play both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. She's not afraid to go in and get like the offensive rebound. She's not afraid. She's also 6'7", so it's like
can't coach 6'7".
Already make you special.
Yeah.
Because who is really going to guard you?
Exactly. So do you Now, I'm going to tell you something else that's been circulating. Now, I know you've been seeing, too, that a lot of, like you said, you can't take away what Catlin done. Amazing player. A lot of the GOATs in the sport, some of the older ladies are saying that, can you be considered a great without that championship? I got my opinion on it. I want to hear your opinion on what do you think? Can she compete? Because they was like in separate rooms. Now you got your greats, but you got the ones that get it done and won. So what you think?
I understand both sides of the argument. Because, growing up, like, watching the NBA and stuff, too, there are some greats in the NBA that never got a ring.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it is something special that you can't deny, like, you finished without a championship ring. Like, and I appreciate all the attention that she has brought to women's basketball, because without her, nobody would have been watching, like, at the depths of which they were watching or following.
Yeah, you got to give her props.
So I think, she definitely kind of entered that space and made it like, oh, everybody wants to, like, watch and see what's going on in basketball. She definitely brought a lot of attention. And I thank her for that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the WNBA for her. Because now you're going to be on a team with even more talented people than what you've been playing with for the last 4 years. No shade to her teammates. Like, she has great teammates, but she's also a great playmaker to make them look good and highlight, hopefully you're not missing layups and wide open threes if y'all have all day, because you're drawing a double and triple team. But now the landscape is kind of changing. So it's going to be interesting.
It is. Now, going back to Dunn with South Carolina, you still got a couple freshmen I've seen in some other places, but she has a core that some of her main contributors in that championship game were freshmen. So what do you foresee next year? Like, can she run the table again? Because it's like, I'm going to tell you where she's getting to that space at. She's getting to that space kind of like, that Nick Saban space where you don't have to recruit, where your second five is better than the first five of most other schools you're going to play on a night-to-night basis. So she's entering that realm now. So do you think she can run the table again next year with the freshmen? Because what's her name? Malaysia
Wiley.
Oh,
Wiley Tessa.
She is sick.
They would call her Tommy Tess.
She is sick.
Yeah. I think that she possibly could. I mean, that's a little bit too early to tell, right? But I think she has the key pieces there that she needs. And it's just crazy to see. I've loved South Carolina, but Dawn is definitely approaching that Geno territory. Like, she has the potential to approach.
She's the only threat I see right now.
Yeah. And see, a lot of people, like, I feel like a lot of people who are starting to watch now, they don't understand. Like, I've been watching UConn since, like, early 2000s. Like, our dad used to make us sit there and watch, and I'm like, Geno was that guy, because Geno back to back. Like, Stu Bird, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, like, even Paige Beckers. Like, you have to go back with him and really evaluate how Geno.
You got to pay homage to him, because he looked like a godfather. That's what he is. He's the godfather with his basketball.
Right. So Geno is that guy.
Yeah.
As far as, like, women's work. I mean, also, your Pat Summits and stuff too. So no disrespect there. But I'm talking about as far as, like,
another legend.
The people who are still here now and still coaching. Yeah. Dawn definitely has that potential.
Yeah, and it's like, it's amazing to watch because it was so quick. The turnaround she made, because that wasn't even a bad. You have certain schools, like how you say with the Pat Summers and the Tennessees, the Genos and the UConn, that you already identify basketball with off rip when it comes like the women. But she turned a school around that didn't have that legacy behind it. So that makes it even more impressive. So I don't know. It's been fun to watch. Now, hold on, because we got somebody that's saying pump the brakes. We're not just going to give them trophy. What about Juju over there at US?
I love Juju.
You love what you think about her game?
I love Juju.
Okay.
I really do. I think she's a very fun player. She's really young. I was sad to see her exit how she did. But,
Me too.
Give it to UConn, though, because UConn, like, fighting through all the injuries they had with, like, 8 players.
Was crazy. And main players.
Crazy.
To get what they did, that was crazy.
It's going to be interesting to see a healthy UConn team.
That's true.
Then watch Juju continue to develop. Because what she did this year was phenomenal. I feel like a lot of people slept on her because Catlin Clark is just, like, the person that she is. But she wasn't, like, if you're looking at numbers, like, certain numbers, she wasn't that far off for Catlin.
She wasn't.
No,
she wasn't.
But
and when you look at her game, it's fluid too. She got a nice, like, tight game.
She knows she's doing.
She knows she's doing on that court.
She knows she's doing.
And look, I see you know a little bit about your history. You'll talk about some of the old UConn greats. Now, like I say, immediately, you know, they start kind of having that, you know, just good banter. Is Caitlin a GOAT? Is she not a GOAT? Is she one of the great? Growing up, who were the ones you looked up to? Who you and your sister watching basketball? And you were like, man.
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, Lisa Leslie, obviously.
That was good.
Tamika Catchings,
that was a good
Swin Cash, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, huh? Oh yeah, Candace Parker, obviously.
Parker, yeah, that's
Candace Parker.
Tennessee, yeah.
That was we grew up in that era with them. So
did y'all catch any Maya Moore? Were y'all
yes, Maya Moore. Yes, I didn't mean to leave Maya out.
Definitely. Maya Moore, dog, too.
Maya's something special.
Yes.
So it's been we've seen it, but I guess like the rest of the world, you know, people don't know. Like even some of I feel like a lot of the younger players really don't keep up and they don't know.
Yeah.
Like the history of they know what's now, or even some of our friends, especially I feel like men, because they don't if you don't watch girls basketball or women's basketball, you just don't know.
And I'm gonna tell y'all now, if y'all not tuned in to women's basketball, y'all are missing a treat, because this ain't like the game for even you know how the men's game has evolved. Like it's women on the court now that I see that will. No, speaking of that, I was about to say something. I was about to say, could play with men. Ice Cube. What's your opinion on that? Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. Him offering Catlin Clark $5 million to play in the Big Three.
$5 million to play in the Big Three. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that, you know, I know that Ice Cube has that whole thing. So my thoughts, okay, this is when I first heard it. I was like, I know he wants to compete and he has more money to pay her than the WNBA. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have a problem with it. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be interesting. I think it will definitely draw a crowd, because wherever she goes, she's going to draw a crowd. Mm-hmm. We know she's going to get endorsed. She already has endorsements. I mean, her NIL deals, you can't turn on TV. You could not turn the TV on during March Madness and not see her. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what she does. Did she already decline it? Because I know during the tournament, she was like, I'm not talking about this right now. I got to focus on trying to win. Mm-hmm. But I'm open to it. I just don't know how it would work necessarily unless he gets more people. But I don't know. We'll just see. I think maybe they consider a skills match or something. But I don't know. I would have to see the logistics, learn a little bit more about the logistics and how he's trying to do that. But
that's spoken like a true doctor. She said, I need to hear the logistics of this. I'm open. That's a good answer. Now look, we're gonna end it on the overall tournament. What was your overall perception of the tournament? How was the tournament for you? Leading up from the first I know it was exciting, but the last few rounds, you know, we had questionable calls. We had some games that looked like they were, you know, up for grabs, but the refs helped them out. So what was your overall, how did you feel like the tournament went?
Okay, so as far as the tournament ended, and it looks like we have a guest appearance from the other team here. For me, I think the last game, I saw something that I hadn't seen the whole tournament as far as when Iowa was playing. Mm-hmm. And maybe I just missed it, because I'm not going to say I saw every single minute of every single one of their games. But I noticed that the announcers actually started saying, oh, Catlin Clark got away with this call. And I had never heard them say any of that before. And I was like, wait, what is happening right now? Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, they are a very talented team. I'm not trying to take nothing away from them. I feel like some of them could get nominated for a Golden Globe. Deserve a daytime Emmy, an Oscar for some of the performances. They know how to sell it. Some of it was a little bit reminded me of Anderson Beershow before the flop rule got instated.
Hold on. Look, let me tell you about one of the calls though that you're talking about. Did you hear when the announcer say? I think it was number 24. When she stepped through the lane, almost did a Euro step, and they parted the lane, and they say, "Well, did anybody touch her?" It was like they were even looking like, "Hold on now."
What happened? They said she got pushed in the back, and I was like, "Wait a minute, where?"
Yeah, they was like, I think they totally missed it. They didn't want to say it, but it was so obvious when you slow it down on replay, you can't. We see what you see, so go ahead and say it.
You're right. Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think some calls are definitely questionable, but I do feel like as far as like the caliber of teams that were playing, it was probably like the most evenly matched called game that we saw.
It was.
Like if they called something like very like out the way, then they would try to fix. I feel like they were trying to fix it on the other end and make up for what they just did.
Mm-hmm.
It was more even. I'm not gonna say it was like 100%, but it was more even.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like, you know, I know Catlin Clark draws attention. I think even the Final Four game was like 14.3 million viewers or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Crazy. And I'm very happy for the sport. I pray that that continues, and I pray my hope and my prayer is that not only does it continue, but we start to see more Black women on some of these commercials. And
Very
because
true.
if you had never watched women's basketball, this is what we've been saying the whole tournament.
Very true.
If you had never watched women's basketball until this year, you would have thought Iowa won the national championship last year. Because of the number of commercials that Catlin Clark was on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying anything against her, but they still didn't win a national championship.
That's fair.
So, and we've seen Donald commercials. I want to see more girls. I want to see more people who look like me on some of these commercials because they have been holding this sport down for a very long time.
Yes, indeed.
And they deserve that recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be interesting. Now that Catlin Clark is graduating, you know, who are we going to turn to?
Who we going to prop up now?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, though. Now, with the NIL and all that going on, and, you know, LSU, they capitalized on it major after their championship. Like, Angel been everywhere. I love that because she getting her coins, and then Flage, you know, she doing her thing on the court and in the booth. I love Flage, too.
I love Flage.
I just got to revisit this game with some basketball heads because I want y'all opinion on this. Did she get out coached? Was that just a bad game plan? Because I feel like we could have. I feel like we could have advanced past them.
You know, for me, I didn't understand some of the things that were happening during the game. I'm not exactly sure. I felt like they could have been crashing the boards a little bit harder. I know there was like a little bit of foul trouble. I feel like there could have been some switches on defense to where there could have been potential to maybe guard Catlin Clark a little bit better. I mean, you're not going to stop her.
You're not going to stop her.
Because if we look at the breakdown of what Nika Mule and Raven Johnson were able to do, the thing that for me is that this is what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you press her and make her work full court, it was almost, I don't know if you noticed this, but on some of the plays, like it was like if she had to work to get the ball more than what she was used to working to get the ball, she would kind of just freeze and stand there.
And get first. Yep.
Just standing, and like she wasn't moving. Like I'm like your off-ball movement stopped. Like everything, like it was like a frustration. You could see a visible frustration over her, at least in my opinion. And so that was interesting, and I feel like that was the key because now, like you're making her work hard to get the ball up. You're making her work hard off the ball. And that's not something that she was used to doing, or even her teammates were really used to doing. They're used to like, okay, Catlin gonna draw the double or triple, she gonna kick it out to someone else because her court vision is unmatched.
Crazy.
And then we're gonna sit up and post here for this wide open three or this wide open layup that she's about to give us. And so now, like everybody was having to work a little bit harder, and I feel like they were getting tired. And I feel like one of the reasons that UConn couldn't pull it off is because with 8 players, I think that if they had like even 2 more players to kind of like sub them out and give them like a little bit of a break, I think that could have been a different game too. Minus the whole call, the ref call at the end. I think they got a little bit tired and they weren't as aggressive on their end. But it was interesting.
Let me tell you why you could be a coach, because what you said was 100% right. Because see, Catlin Clark game is predicated off movement, sort of like Steph Curry. She comes off a lot of screens, she gets a lot of free baskets, and she got killer handles, so she can step back and shoot it from the logo. But when she comes off, they got those screens that she comes off, they got them down pat, and she runs off 2 or 3, and by the time she comes off, your closeout is not going to affect her because she shoots that good, especially when she's on. So when you have a team that's flight of feet and can get around those screens and come over the top and play them honest, it frustrated her. So what you were saying, let me find out y'all want to be coaches. You two sidelines.
Because I was watching the game.
Our dad used to make us focus on defense.
Yeah.
The whole time when we used to play. And so that was honestly my favorite part. I was like, I don't really care about how many points I got. Like, I want to steal the ball. Like, I want to create some other opportunities for my team to score, to get the ball back so that we can score on offense. And so I feel as if, like, yeah, if I'm your coach going into that LSU Iowa game, I'm like, if I'm the LSU coach, I'm telling them, like, hey, like, we already know that you can't touch her. So, like, let's play as aggressively as we can off the ball so that she cannot get the ball.
That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, it was crazy, but shout out to Raven Johnson and Nika Mule. Yeah, they held it down.
They held it down. I'm talking about because just like we say, like when people have a good offensive game, chasing somebody that with the movement of Catlin Clark, that is exhausting. Like chasing a Steph Curry, that is exhausting. And to do that, and they were picking her up. They were picking her up full court, 94 feet. Like let's rock. Like you're not going nowhere.
And see, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of other teams in the tournament are playing a short game with her. They let her get the ball in inbound. They're not pressing the inbound. And then that way, as soon as she comes across half court,
she's a threat.
So she can shoot. Yeah. How many times did we see her shoot, even with that UConn game, because she started 0 for 6 in the first half. She was still throwing them up there, even though they were contested. And that's fine. Like, you have to just try to contain her. She was throwing the ball up, but like she was having to work harder because now she got to play you on defense. You just say you tired her out, you stopped her from getting the ball. But I feel like for most of the game in the tournament, she come across half court, she shoot the ball,
letting it go.
The rest of the team is not really having to work because you can switch the whole dynamic of this game to where everybody's gonna be focused on what you're doing. Like Hannah, what's the girl name? Hannah Staley. Mm-hmm. She can just say, okay, and then they're all running back, and I feel like they weren't having to work that hard.
And that's another thing too. Like with South Carolina, that they can push the ball. Mm-hmm. They, and I really feel like at that second half they were able to control the tempo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you have to do with them because just how, like if you running the ball back and forth, that's how Iowa is too. Like they're looking for that outlet pass. They always got somebody back. There's always somebody back, and people were not running with them.
Yeah.
And that they were deadly in the transition.
What seatbelt game?
Seatbelt game. So seatbelt game had seatbelt
game. Because look, I did notice. Now they got shooters and but a full court press did frustrate them, and I thought we could have played that a little bit more. But like you say, they always had an outlet because if you give Catlin one person streaking like her lead passes, like you say, her court vision is crazy. Her lead passes, she puts it right in pocket where they either, like you say, going for the layup or you ready to shoot. So if they didn't mess that up, they were good. But getting it in bounds, they were having a lot of trouble, and they would have to really fight and expend a lot of energy at one point.
Yeah, and I don't think the foul trouble helped them at all. Like, it's kind of like, I think, even though Dawn, I think, wanted to play them a little bit more aggressively up front, obviously nobody wants to let her get 18 points in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, they adjusted. It's like more so about like, how is she coming out? Which Catlin are you getting? Are you getting unselfish Catlin, or are you getting Catlin that's going to put the team on her back today? Yeah, figure that out. And then it's like, okay, how do we stop her from getting the ball?
Yes, because I think they had a really good game plan with Bree Hall being on her first. Yeah. Bree Hall had the length. Don't get me wrong. But Raven Johnson played her like white on rice. Like she was like, you were not going anywhere. And you're not about to embarrass me.
Yeah.
And she really wanted it. Like you could tell her tenacity. She was just like, I'm not letting you get open.
Exactly.
I'm watching. If you even look at her, like I feel like a lot of players get caught looking at Catlin Clark's eyes, but she has like her court vision is so crazy you can't look at look at her face.
Yeah, you can't.
Gotta watch what she's actually
watch the hips. The hips ain't gonna lie.
UConn and South Carolina were both in the passing lanes.
Yes,
the whole time. That was the first time I actually paid attention to that. They were denying the ball. Yep. And it's like, this is what you gotta do. Like,
even though it's textbook.
It's textbook. But it's like, you have to go to fundamentals to beat them because they are so good. And at some point, some teams are having to beat the rest too.
Yeah.
There you go. Now look, let me text you this. So, was this lightning in a bottle this year, or can women's basketball sustain the momentum that they picked up? Because it's rolling right now. Like, everybody's tuned in. Like, for college basketball, it's like the women's ticket is the hot ticket in town now. Do you see these young freshmen, these stars here, carrying the torch and keeping this momentum going? Or do you think, like, we just had the right people this last 4 or 5 years stretch that kind of elevated the game? Because Catlin Clark, like you said earlier, she's transcended the game as far as just, and it could be multiple reasons why she transcended the game and getting pushed and elevated so lofty. And because I've seen some of this before, but I know sometimes it seems like everything's new now. But Do you think we have the people now in place that can push the torch and go forward?
I think there is talent. There's undeniable talent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a matter of if the media is going to cover it in the same look they have been covering it. Because when I think about Catlin Clark and the media coverage that she has been able to bring, I almost think of it too as like this like Larry Bird type situation for the NBA, where we are waiting just to see like what is going to happen. Like all eyes is on him. All eyes have been on her. But and there's other talented players. There's other, granted, maybe they're not scoring as much as her. That has a lot to do with how the team was built around her and, the conference that they're in as well. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know. I don't know that the media says, hey, do we shift and move with Catlin and then we forget about women's college basketball? I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I know they're going to follow her.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like at the end of last year, they very much so made it the media. Yes. I'm not saying everybody who's watching, but the media, I feel like they made it almost like a black versus white issue that carried into this year and only got built upon because we see like how the press was talking about LSU, like even into the tournament. I know it was retracted down the dirty debutante comment.
That was wild.
But yeah, so like even that's been edited now, but it was still put out there. So I feel like they want to make it like she's the hero versus kind of like a villain thing. And I'm not saying that's how Iowa feels as people, or and I'm definitely not saying that's how LSU is, but I think that's what they built it upon, like this whole like this divide. Like she came into women's college basketball and has done some amazing things, and I can't say that in the media's head color doesn't play a role in that.
Of course not. Now I will say this to her credit. I will say she has downplayed and even spoke up for Angel Reese, I think, a couple times with the whole last year with the ring. Yeah, so I will say this to her credit. She didn't just lay back and say, I could easily be quiet and just not say nothing. So I give her credit on that because it was like you said, last year was like just a real just priority to make it like a black and white thing. And I like the way both players kind of spoke up. Angel even said like, hey, she's an amazing player. I can't wait. I might play with her on the next level. So I like that they kind of, the younger generation, that's what I applaud them about. They're trying to break past these racial barriers, but we just got so many gatekeepers, people of my age group and older that still hold on to those values. And when you hear certain terms like make America great again, you know what it refers to. So that just is what it is. But look, I appreciate y'all dropping in. I know y'all had a busy day. Look, before we end, we cannot be here in Dallas, Texas and not tell people what was going on during the eclipse today. Did you guys get to spend it together?
We did.
You did? Okay.
We were at the office. and...
Did you have the proper eyewear?
We did.
Yes, our patients bought us some of the eyewear, but we already had some. Okay. But he was like, he wanted to make sure that we could all watch it because his appointment time was like during the eclipse, like ended right before. So
I got some good patients. So I thought we were special. I thought we were special. All y'all patients like family. All y'all patients like family. That's what's up.
They try to make sure you're taken care of. All of y'all did.
Look, man, I appreciate y'all dropping in. Look, tell people where to go, to find you, to let them know your handles and all that. You know how it go.
Okay, so our Instagram handle is the Blueprint Dallas, and then this the only one really. Oh, TikTok, we're the Cairo Twins on TikTok. TikTok is not educational; it's just literally for fun. So don't get on there expecting to see anything. Look, just to make you smarter.
People might.
Our website.
Which one is it? What'd you say?
What'd you say?
No, I said people might want to see the fun side of y'all. They always see, the treatments and all that. They might want to see the dances and everything else.
Oh my God.
Y'all a brand, man. How many Mirror Twins people gonna know? Y'all a whole brand.
Okay, that whole thing, like, we got called a lie. If you look up on our post, like, it's literally liar.
Yeah, that was wild. People were asking us for our fingerprints. So, like, I have never seen this in like 7 years.
What? Do they think y'all AI generated or something?
I have no idea.
No, I was like, y'all just need to go find the research because it's out there. Like, we didn't make this up. Like, this is stuff that we have been, told by the medical community.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's out there for us to find, it's out there for y'all too. Y'all just gotta look a little bit deeper. I'm sorry you have never seen it in 7 years. Like, I've been living it for 30. So,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Drop that website. Tell them that website.
Oh yeah, our website, if you want to actually go learn about more about what we do, it's the blueprintlifedtx.com.
That's what's up. And y'all know how we always end it, man. Always visualize your goals. And after that, accomplish your visualized goals. 9/11, Dr. Tonya Toya, gone. Thank y'all for dropping in. Look, I told